have that instinct automatically? Because remember, some of this stuff is genetic. They either have it or they don't, right? This is what it's all about, people. Attack the boy! He must know that I'm in the dog fight with him. I'm next to him side by side. We have a bond that's unbreakable. What I tell you?
Yeah, that's very good.
Miles is badass. Shout out to Miles Myers, my videographer guy. You know, it's not just the guy in the front of the camera, but it's the guy behind the camera that makes it really happen. I want to say thanks for coming on and giving us the time today. I got Brad Sneed in the house. How you doing, Brad?
Man, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, Brother Gerald.
No problem, no problem. Brad is from a kennel out in Arkansas called Circle S Kennels. And I'm telling you, listen, first of all, Dogo is probably the number 1 or 2 of my best dogs. And I told you why off air before.
Yeah.
And when my guy told me, Joe told me, hey man, you got to get Brad on, man. He's got those Dogos you're talking about. Because, you know, there's a lot of dogs that look nice, but can they work nice too, right?
Yeah.
Like you say, you know, there's play drive and there's real prey drive.
Yep.
So people, I want to say thanks for coming on to our show today. And I have an honor and a privilege to cut a little bit of time out of your day off, if we're ever off, to talk with us and learn about the dogs, learn about you. This ain't gonna be our last time. And FYI, people, we are going to Arkansas at some point before the summer and do a recording, a whole episode with my man. We're gonna ride 4-wheelers or ATVs. We're gonna do it all, right?
Yeah, we'll do it all.
All right. So I want to get into it. First question I'm gonna start asking all of my guests. Your favorite movie?
Oh man. Well, of course, obviously I haven't thought about this.
Right.
One of my favorite movies, I mean, I got several. There was a movie called The Man from Snowy River when I was little. And it was about a cowboy that gathered wild horses up in the mountains. And I've watched that a ton. Now, obviously, you know, there's some dog movies out there that are my favorites, but Young Guns, those old Westerns, we watch a lot of that. I love Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It's in the old days. I
remember that one.
In the old-timey music that's being played. Pretty much, you know, since I'm just an old redneck, the old country settings, you know, any movie with that. But I've seen John Wick probably 30 times, you know.
Yeah.
Any type of action, you know, and adrenaline I'm in.
Yeah. Now, my favorite movies, first of all, I love Terminator.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Judgment Day was good. And Gladiator. I love Gladiator.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
God damn. And listen, the one Patrick Swayze did, Break of Dawn, Point Break.
Yes.
They had Keanu in there. People don't remember that movie. That's badass. Anyway.
I'll be looking at Gladiator late at night, and I'll get up and want to throw my remote through so I just had a Gladius sword built just like the one that he has in the movie.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, he was on Forged in Fire, and he handmade me a Gladius sword just like he had. And so I just got it this week.
Man, we can go on and on about this because I know the newest Gladiator movie was whack, man.
Yeah.
You know, Denzel was Denzel. I'm like, yo, dude, first of all, Denzel, you were not part of the Emperor staff during them ages, bro. You was out there fucking feeding the animals. You're not fucking up there. It was bullshit.
Oh shoot.
Anyway, I want to say thanks for coming on. So I want to get to it. I noticed that you're in Arkansas, so I know that certain seasons you can only hunt wild boar, wild hog. That's what they call it, wild boar, wild hogs.
Feral hog, wild boar, all that, yep.
So question is, what made you pick the Dogo as your dog of choice?
Well, you know, wild boar hunting is dangerous, and a lot of people don't realize how strong they are and how tough they are and how dangerous they are. Now, if you go out there and you've got some little dogs, they can do real good as long as they're quick, but you've got to have a very strong dog to handle them. And so I started going hunting with Catahoulas and blackmouth curs, and they do good job, and I still use those as a part of my deal. But whenever we would get a big boar cornered, it was going to take some more muscle than just the regular stock dog to hold them. And so I started researching, athletic dogs, hog dogs, the best. And I came across a Dogo years ago, and so that's how I kind of got started in them.
So I noticed you were telling me when we first talked on the phone that you know the creator. You're pretty good. You're close friends with the creator's son or grandson.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me, like, are they still living in Argentina? And is that where you get most of your dogs still?
Yeah. So Argentina, everybody wants to get a dog from Argentina. And what they need to realize is there's lots of good dogs in Argentina, but there's lots of bad ones too. It's kind of like if somebody calls America and they want a dog that us Americans have overbred and overpopulated, and you guys know some of the breeds I'm talking about, you might get a good one, you might not. So since the Argentina Dogo is the dog of the country, there's one on every corner. But my friend, Ulises de Andres, he is the grandson of the creator of the breed. So there's Dr. Martinez that created the breed alongside of his brother, Augustin. And so Augustin wrote a poem about the Dogo that not many people know about. And so I've actually sent that poem along with the videos to my tech guy that helps me make videos. And I said, I want this poem on here so that people know. So when Dr. Martinez died, his daughter's son is Ulysses, and Ulysses moved the operations out to La Cocha. And so La Cocha is the original everything. And so when I post videos of me at La Cocha, me hunting hogs at La Cocha, Ulysses with me in Dallas, or when we're doing things, or my dogs, that's the original blood.
Nice. So I haven't did my studies on Dogos, even though I do love them aesthetically. I love the head. I love the thick tail. I love the tenacity. My question is like when you're picking out dogs for your camp, because that some dogs are just gonna be pets only because they just don't have that dog in them. When you're trying to pick out a nice pup to add to your kennel, what are you looking for, specifically knowing what you're going to be doing with that dog?
So I am very, very picky. I am hardly ever satisfied. And I told the story, I think, when I was visiting with Joe, growing up, my uncle, he raised some of the best quarter horses around, and he never had one that he was satisfied with. So he'd always find a fault. And even though you're raising really, really good dogs, you got to stay objective when you're looking at your dogs. Some guys get kennel blindness and they just think whatever they've got is the best. But we try to stay black and white. We try to stay objective when we're looking at it and judge them based on what they are. And so one of the first things that I'm going to look for is athleticism. And athleticism is at the very top, along with their mindset. They have got to be able to move, or they will risk a great injury or something worse. And so if the dog can't move well, then we don't. So our selection process to finding those dogs when they're puppies are very particular for that.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I don't know if your wife is like mine, but she falls in love with every goddamn dog I bring in the house. I can bring in a fucking Chihuahua, and if that Chihuahua gotta go, she's butthurt. Like, why you gotta do this, baby? These dogs have a purpose in our household. We got cats. We got cats for pets. So my thing is that it's never going to be a perfect dog. Even though we've had some great dogs, we're always looking for the dogs that was that great dog that we had. Yeah. There's always going to be something missing. So like for me, I have one Rottweiler, but I have several Dobies. I'm a Dobie guy, right? And some people may not like my Rottweiler, but that motherfucker is shifty on his feet. He's got size, he got height, and he got his tail. And his tail is his rudder. People want to see Rotties with their tails docked. I'm like, no, this tail does him great because he'll flip and land on his feet, or he'll move. When we send him off on a decoy, he'll run in a straight line, and the decoy moves, and he's able to shift and keep his balance because his tail's going this way. And I always tell people, hey, if you watch a cheetah run at top speed and they have to do this right here, that tail is doing this while they going this direction, the tail's going that direction, and it's keeping them balanced. And I love that. And I love that. So my question is to you is, what do you do once you pick that dog or that puppy, depending on what age you get them? How are you training him to run with the pack and to know what their purpose is when you're out hunting? What is the process of that?
So whenever we pick, first off, I will comment on your tail as a rudder. Dogos have their tails, and it becomes really important when in water, because we catch a lot of hogs in water, and it helps them whip around fast. And so that's what a lot of people don't think about, but they can really spin around quick in water. But anyway, what I will do is I will take a puppy, and at 6 weeks old, I will begin to know. I will start seeing some of the things in there that has been in its fathers, grandfathers, mothers, grandmothers, and I'll start watching those puppies, and I'll start keeping the ones back that I think might suit our program. And then I will after we cut their ears and their ears are healed up, I will put them out in our big pasture with our working dogs. And there will be anywhere from 4 to 6 to 7 of them, and they'll become part of that pack. And I'll put them out there all day. They'll be in a 2-acre pen all by themselves, hanging out, chilling all day. They'll eat with them. They'll hang out with them, and they'll begin to play with them. And one of the first things that happens is those older dogs will start chasing them, and they'll chase them back. And the older dogs will flip them over and pin them, and they'll grab their throat, and the puppy will submit. Of course, nothing's ever getting hurt. They're just playing. But they start learning how to just play rough and being dogs. And that's some of the first things that I do. And so they start learning what it's like to be a dog first, because they have to know that they're a dog and where they fit in this pack. And then I come in and I'm the alpha that's untouchable. There's the alpha male of the dog pack, but I'm even above him. So when I come out there, the alpha bows to me only. And so they have to know that pecking order all the way through. And so when the puppies are jumping on the older dogs too much, the older dogs back them up. They get in their personal space. The older dogs back them up. So they start learning things that's easier for me to train, because of when I'm out doing whatever, they're still learning and becoming a part of that. And so if I'm taking 15, 20 dogs hunting, just know that I've got that many or more at my house, and there's a pecking order going on while I'm hunting at that house. And so by the time that they make it to 4 or 5 months old, I start shifting things around, because the pecking order starts to become more mature. And then by that time, I'll have 8, 10-month-old males that they're coming along. And, you don't want a 14-month-old male that's coming into his own in there with the 9-year-old male. It's like I said, old lions don't die. They die at the mouths of younger lions. And so
correct,
you have to keep all that in the check too. And so then there's a point in time where I pull my alpha males that's been the king forever. I pull them out and say, you sit over here now, baby. It's stay out the way. So
my thing is, okay, so like when we're doing protection training, or we're doing rag work, or in your terms, we do play drive work, right? The dogs have to be separated because they're focused on that one thing, right? And all the dogs start zooming in on that one object, whether it's a rag or a decoy. What I've noticed, I don't know how you train them, but if I was to let 3 of my males go to chase one thing, if one of them gets that item first, the other one fights the other one because they got it before he did. You get what I'm saying? So my question, how are you training all the males and female bitches are just as ruthless. They can fight it just as worse as men, male dogs. But how are you getting them to all work in unison where it's not a competition among each other? It's us doing this one thing together, because that's a lot of dogs to chase one goddamn hog, and the dogs ain't flipping out on each other in the heat of battle. So how are they realizing to differentiate the main goal versus want to be the leader and the winner of the prize?
Yeah. So we also make sure that they get along in every aspect of life. And I make sure that there's no competition when they're eating. I make sure there's no competition here and there. But the thing about hog hunting is that rag don't bite back. And they're in competition for that
Good point.
rag. But when you get out there, that hog is flipping people around, and it becomes the common goal a lot easier, actually. So it's not it'd be harder to train the dogs to not be in competition for that rag, 3-on-1, because this hog is going crazy, and this hog is trying to kill me, is trying to kill the dogs. And so they start feeding, and the pack mentality really comes in heavy there. So we never have any issue out in the field working. If we have an issue with challenging, it's usually going to be when a female's in heat and the males are in the kennel, and we're going to have problems like that. And that's just dogs, being dogs. But as long as there's a live hog involved and there's a common goal, I can keep them pretty straight. And sometimes it happens that a puppy will get in competitions because they'll get so jazzed up. They might want to try to be in competition with another female there. And of course I'm standing there and I'll straighten that out real quick. And a good way to do that, though, is to take those dogs hunting one-on-one with those boars, and that boar will get their attention to where that boar will say, you will pay attention to me. And so they realize that they're going to become very badly injured or worse if they don't put full force. And so usually when they get a hold of that hog, one dogo will get one ear apiece. If I've got two, if there's three, another one will grab the jaw. If it's one-on-one, they'll get one ear apiece. Or if I have 6 dogs hunting and they're catching 6 hogs at one time, and then one runs in the middle and they all jump on it, they'll get a leg apiece. But they'll work together until that animal is dispatched.
What do you find from previous history and with your dogs? Who hunts the best, males or females?
Oh man. Well, I will tell you this, and everybody has got their opinion. I'll give you the facts. When I go hunting, I will usually have more females than males. Usually your jam up over the top good ones are males, but the thing you deal with males is when they get there, they're going to have to go through their routine. They're going to have to pee on this tree and pee on that tree, and they're going to have to make sure that everybody knows that they're dominant, and the females are just like, where's it at? There's no mark in every tree. And so I know lots of guys will only hunt females because they're not interested in being dominant. They're not interested in showing the pack. They just hunt like a pack of lions. Mm-hmm. And so the males, to some degree, will have a little bull crap involved until it's time. Now, they're not standing around, doing nothing when it's time. But when they're chilling, the males are going to have the tendency to do a little politicking, and a little bit of messing, marking trees and growling. They just have a tendency to do that. But when I hunt, so I will go and I will have, say I have 5 dogs, it'll be 1 male and 4 females, or 2 males and 3 females. That's the way that I hunt them.
You know what? That makes a good point. And somebody chimed in and said, good point. If the dogos are fighting for survival, they're not in competition.
That's right. It's totally different. It's totally different. And when you're out there, that's why the bond becomes so strong, because it's like you said in your videos, your dog, when you're training, has to know that you're there beside it. Well, when you're waist deep in a swamp and that hog has just took a dog and cut a 9-inch swath down its side, and I'm just being real, and it's bleeding, and other dogs are helping, and it's had a hold of my boot and it's trying to tear my leg off, and we finally get it killed. It's like, oh my gosh, that was close. My foot was hung up in this log. It's 35 degrees and the water is up to my waist. I got to get out of here. I'm getting cold. And thank the Lord we killed this hog. And so that will push that to a different level, because everybody at that point in time, there's only one focus. There's no cell phone ringing. There's no talking to anybody. It's, we have to do this and we have to get it done. And it just gets really, really intense.
So, first of all, people, I love talking to guys in the South, because I'm a Southern country boy by heart. I grew up there in the South. So a lot of things we talk and say, you city slickers don't know shit about, right? But what I didn't know, and when it comes to hunting, is when you hunt wild boar, you don't hunt with any guns. You hunt with knives only, correct? Is that a state law, or is that just the way you do it?
So The reason why the guys do that is guns are first really loud. And so when those dogos get on those pigs, and the pigs, the dogos do a good job of holding them, but the pig is still moving around. And if me and you and some, if there's 3 or 4 of us and we just, we throw some marbles down on the ground, everybody bends over to look at it, and I shoot a pistol down on the ground, it's going to blow our eardrums out. The second thing is it's going to be dangerous because it might hit a dog. But the real reason is once you get, if I shoot a hog in the head and it's squealing, or, you got to hit a hog just right for starters. So there's a lot of risk. But when I've got a 10-inch blade and I go in behind its scapula and I cut straight down, I'm going to cut a hole within a half a second big enough to shove a cantaloupe in. And when I do that and cut its aorta, it's over. It is the most ethical way to kill something, period. It's because you have your hands on it and you just go, and when you cut its heart in half, it's not like a little bullet going through the heart. It's not like an 1.5 inch broadhead passing through the heart. We're just cutting it in half. And so all of the blood exits the hog's body immediately and it's gone. And people get on me all the time. Oh, it's so unethical. It's so unethical. Well, no. I mean, when you shoot a deer and it runs off in the woods, and hey, I'm not throwing rocks at deer hunters. I'm for all hunters.
Yeah. But
whenever you shoot a deer and it runs off, you're waiting for it to die. Whenever you shoot any animal and it runs off, you're waiting for it to die before you go get it. And when I grab these hogs and I pull out that knife, the moment I go in, it's over. It's very quick. And so whenever you cut something's aorta and its heart, all of the blood will leave its body and it'll shoot it actually up your arm. And when that happens, you see lots of guys in videos and they've got blood all up here. It's everything dumps out at one time. It's a total exit of life immediately.
So once the dogs capture the dog, and then you kill the dog. I mean, you kill the hog. If you are like, I'll say a mile in the woods, how are you bringing that hog back? Are you on foot or are you on an ATV? Because some of these hogs can get 200 pounds.
Okay, so pull up my YouTube videos and I'll show you which one to play. Now be a good time.
All right. Here we go. Which one?
Go the one with that Can-Am right there in the middle.
Right here.
Down one. Down. Left. Right there. Left.
Right here.
Left. So picture of that Can-Am. The side by side. Hit that.
Right here.
The one on the side by side. It's camouflage. Right here in the middle.
What's the name of it? Only Dogs?
Time to Hunt. Time to Hunt.
Here we go. Got it right here.
So that's my rig. That gets me all through the swamp, and that'll get me within a few hundred yards of usually where the hogs are at.
Yeah.
It's 6 wheels. It's 6x6. It's got big mud tires. I mean, you can watch the full video of it later, but
it don't seem like it gets stuck in no kind of mud.
No, I've got winches on the front and the back, and so all the hogs are down in the swamp. So I drive as close as I can to them. And if we kill 15 a day, which is normal for us, just go out and kill 15 or so. If I hunt till lunchtime or 1 or 2, now I threw that number out there. The older I get, guys, I'm telling you, by lunchtime, we've killed 10, 12, 15, whatever. I'm ready for a break. I don't care what the benefits are. I'm just, because we do it so much and it's hard work, but I can only get to about 2 or 3 of those to drag them out or close to. But so we kill so many, we have to leave most of them laying. So they're a nuisance. And, I'm a contract killer. I go and I kill them. And so we leave them laying everywhere. And so one guy was like, I'll take all the hogs you can get. And I was like, you can't clean them all. And he's like, I got a good place for them. I got people who are hungry. I said, that's great. I'll start bringing them to you. And I started bringing them all out. And
like, man,
after a week, he said, I can't take anymore. I said, that's what I thought. You've done. So what I'll do is we'll catch us one like 100 pounds that's never had babies for a barbecue we're having. They're fantastic. We kill it. We can drive the buggy right up to it. I'll load it. And sometimes you'll see some small ones riding around on top. That's what we're about to take home and skin and eat on the weekend.
Now, let me ask you, now, does the hog taste any different than regular pig? Is it more gamey?
So because they're moving around a lot, it depends on where you kill them. So the hogs we kill on the Mississippi River, like where you were from in the Delta, right? Where you were from and where I hunt a lot, right across the river, the hogs are eating corn and soybeans year round. So they get fat. And so they've never had any antibiotics. They've never had any worming medicine. They've never had a needle nowhere near them. Now they are drinking muddy water, but sometimes they're low on fat. But if I cook like a Boston butt, which is the front shoulder, that's what the Boston butt is. I'll take some of the bacon fat, which is back there in the flank, and I'll cut all that bacon out and throw it in there with the smoker, and it'll just, as we say in the country, bile it down. We bile that fat down, and that'll put some really good flavor in it.
Damn, I got to get some one day.
Oh yeah, it's good. Of course, we love barbecue in the South, and I'm sure y'all have it in California, but
it ain't the same. You know that, man.
Yeah.
You got, I hate to say it, but barbecue and all kind of foods. I go back in the kitchen. I'm like, guys ain't speaking Spanish cooking barbecue. Come on, dog.
Oh,
speaking English. They ain't speaking English. Like, how you cooking barbecue, dog?
Yeah, that's right. So my Mexican guys that work with me, we make like fresh carnitas. We make all kinds of fresh chorizo out of it, and they do all their thing. And send in like some of the guys, some of the best barbecuers around here, some of the black guys, and they have their own special recipe.
Smokers and shit.
Like the Memphis guys.
Memphis and May?
Yes. Yeah, you got some of that. And so we just send our barbecue, our hogs around, and all these guys fix it their own way, and it's all good. It's all good.
So now people, the one thing that most people won't realize is it's just like any other sport. With football, you have injuries. Sometimes you have fatalities. Sometimes you have career-ending injuries. What are some of the injuries that your dogs have incurred that were maybe been life-threatening or career-ending for the sport, which is hog hunting?
Well, lots of the hog hunters, they don't, we don't talk about it. It's something we don't like to talk about because, everybody will say, well, if I love my dogs, so I don't want to put them in danger. And we do love them. If you go and watch the video that I posted this morning, that female that just had puppies, she ate a whole raw chicken, fresh salmon covered in buttermilk and bread. And they live in the finest kennels that I could possibly build. And they do what they do. They want to do every day. They love to do, and that's hunt.
That's right.
Playing football, UFC, injuries will come. But, my mama couldn't keep me out. I was a collegiate athlete. And I experienced life-changing injuries, but you couldn't keep me out of it because that's what I love to do. I love to compete.
Yeah.
I loved aggressive things, and that's what led me to this. And that's the dogs are the same way. And I have seen many life-ending injuries. I have stood next to some very good dogs that I made promises kneeling next to them that I said, I swear. It's like on the movie King Kong. You remember Samuel Jackson?
Yeah.
Remember that scene where he was like, I swear you did not die in vain. You remember how awesome that scene is?
Yep.
And so I've stood next to some dogs that I've saved their lives by holding and stapling, make tourniquets, take them 10 miles back to camp and put them up. And I said, I promise you, you didn't get injured in vain. We're fixing to finish this. We go back out and find that hog and finish it.
I feel the same way. And I remember one of my dogs named Brody. He was an IPO2 dog, right? He was my first black and tan Dobie that really put in that work. And Dobies have longer necks than most dogs, right? Because they're part greyhound.
Yeah.
And one of these dumb fucks who call himself a decoy, we were doing a courage test where the dog runs out like 50 yards and he goes airborne for the sleeve, right? Well, the guy he wasn't moving back fast enough because you're supposed to move back as the dog moving for you to cushion the bite, right? And he's supposed to swing as the dog comes. He didn't swing. He kept it right here and he didn't move back enough. He jammed him. And he jammed him so hard that my dog, he had a yelp that was so loud, I've never heard it. we got him back. I mean, there was nothing really could do. He was able to be okay and function, but he was never right again. And people ask me, would you do that again? I said, man, this motherfucker I could even keep him still enough to put the harness on because he knew what time of day it was.
That's right. How old was he when that happened?
Shit, man. 4.
Dang.
4, so, with decoys who are not knowing what they're doing, or they get spooked or scared because because Dobermans they only go 1 speed.
Yeah.
And
they're really fast and quick.
Yes, so he didn't judge it, and he jammed them. But I feel your point. And I'm doing protection sport now, and I will do it all over again because this is what they get excited for. They get a little bit excited for food, but they get amped up for protection work. They know. It's like putting that cape on. They know what time of day it is, right?
They love it.
So, when after you go hunting, and we're gonna, guys, you got to see this because I'm gonna show you some videos. I want you to narrate this. I'm gonna go and show some of the short clips, guys. If you want to see some of these whole videos, you got to go to his YouTube channel. There it is right there, Circle S Kennels.
Facebook, we got more on Facebook too.
More on Facebook. It's an open page. It's got over 200,000 followers. Trust me, that will double within the next 2 or 3 months because he got some stuff cooking. But let's show some videos, people, of one of these that we talked about. Here we go. Let me go right here. Boom. So we talked about this one, right? All gas, no brakes.
Yeah.
That's one. Do you have are there like GPSs on the neck?
Yeah, that's GPS collar.
That's what I thought. And I'm gonna show another one, people. This is a good one right here too. I think we talked about it. It was called Razorback.
Razorback Roundup.
Here we go. Boom! Oh. Do you guys see that? He went straight in. Boom! Right there. Now, is that the more ideal area for the dog to hit these hogs on the head right there?
Yeah. So that dog right there, I called him J-Bo. My buddies in Houston own him now as a breed, as a stud dog. J-Bo, he was a bad dude, and he caught hundreds of hogs by the time he was 3 or 4 years old, and he goes right in for the ear, and so the ears is where we want him to catch it.
Mm-hmm.
So that first video you played, I'll tell you a funny story.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a dog named Tai running in those group of pigs.
Right.
And we were at this big camp, and these guys wanted to come down and go hunt, and they were going to be doing the killing and whatever. And I was like, okay, y'all put on all the knives and stuff like that. And then when we go in there, you'll have the knives. And I kind of trusted them. Well, when it come time to go in there, they're like, we ain't going in there. And I was like, what do you mean? It's serious, I mean, so I start walking. They're like, we ain't coming. So I'm talking to them on the phone. Well, I got about halfway in there, and I realized I ain't got my knife on me. And this very rarely happens because I was going to let them do the killing weather. I said, you know what? Y'all just stay there. I said, let me go in there. So I walked in there, and I radioed to the guys that was helping me, and I said, get that extra knife out of the box. And I said, put it on Tai's back. Mm-hmm. So that Dogo, they buckle the straps on their back. And so he run the straps through the belt loops of the knife. So when he come through that swamp running 9-0 for it was like 0.58 miles. He had to make it back there to where I was at. He was flying, and he had a sword on his back, and he caught that hog, and I went up there, took it out of the stick, bang, and I killed it. And then there was like 6 hogs in that group, and we killed all 6 before we came out of that swamp. And so that was a cool story about that video.
Let me ask you this. I noticed, I'm going to show this right here, people. Now, they use protective vests, but sometimes them vests are not, it's got to be ideal. It's got to be right in the right place, because sometimes when these boars' head are turning and tossing, they may get the dog's neck or get the dog's back or spine or back leg or what have you. But I notice here in the video, they resting up right here.
Yeah.
But those those harnesses or those vests right there, can you tell me about it? Like, are are they pierce proof or something like that?
Yeah. So what those are is those vests that they were wearing that day, I think were double Kevlar. And the vests that I have that were sent to me, the last ones that were sent to me are triple Kevlar, and they're sandwiched in between nylon. And so all up in their chest and neck, this is the most important, obviously, because
Yeah.
that's where a hog's teeth are going to hit. And most people don't realize it, but man, I'm telling you, those hog's teeth that are this long and they get really sharp. And when they come across the top ones, the whetters is like a pair of scissors. And a hog's jaws are so strong, whatever gets in between those teeth, it cuts it just like a pair of shears. I mean, it's a clean cut. It's almost something like you can't really understand how easy it is for those hogs to cut them until you witness it in person. But it is, man, they're dangerous. And so those vests will just get shredded up here, and it'll take it a long time. But that hog will reach up and pinch that Kevlar and shake it and bite it. And over time, depending on how much you hunt, it'll fray out, and then you'll replace it and get a new one. But that's Kevlar.
So and I noticed, getting back to the Dogo. So told you the first time I saw one that I really fell in love with, it was one when Cesar Millan went to somebody's house to rehabilitate the dog. He was a massive Dogo. I don't see too many oversized Dogos out there. What is the breed standard for males and the breed standard for females?
So the breed standard for males is 25 to 27 inches, and the females are 23 to 25 inches tall. Most of my females are 24 and a half to 25 and a half. I do have one female that's right at the top standard, but the harmony of her body is able to carry it. And so that's something that I was actually talking with La Cocha just last night. We were just, because I talk to him every day, and we talk about different things. And so if ideally, we want a male 26 and a half inches tall, 99 to 103 pounds. Mm-hmm. And if he's got the right harmony, because we're trying to build a linebacker, right? We want the Ray Lewises of the world. Yeah. And it's okay to have a Deion Sanders, and it's okay to have a Derrick Henry or a Tom Brady, but we're breeding, and the Dogos, they are the Ray Lewises of the world. So you want them a right size, but it made me think DK Met, but the most important is harmony. Think about DK Metcalf. That brother is 6'4", 235, and he's a freak. Yep. So even though he's a big for a receiver, he can manage his body size, which is just crazy. Yeah. So you can have some 27-inch males that weigh 110 as long as they can still move. And so by movement, not necessarily string line movement, because all these dogs can run hard because they have great strength. So running in a straight line is not a problem, but we need to see how shifty they are, because, Dogos, like I said, they're not going to be near as shifty as some of the other breeds, just like even a Doberman, or especially some of the lighter breeds that weigh 50 and 60 pounds that can just get around like they're on crack. We're trying to get them as shifty as possible for their body size.
When you go out on these hunts, do you have some kind of agreement with the landowner to actually hunt on their property, right? So with that being said, do they only have hogs on there, or is there a season for like other wild animals you guys hunt, like turkeys or any other animals?
So where I'm from, deer hunting and turkey hunting is very big. So we can hunt hogs year round, but I hunt, the farms that I hunt are very large. And then by very large, I mean 10,000 acres plus. Wow. These are big, large tracts of land. So my buddies who own the property and things like that, they're big turkey hunters. And so when it becomes turkey season, they like, just to let the woods lay down for that, for that month or whatever it is. They'll turkey hunt. They'll they'll roam the woods and do whatever. And then I'm taking a break. Like right now I'm having puppies because turkey season's here. We try to, try to time it up. So like I'm having puppies, I'm training young. Now I'm still working dogs every day.
Yeah.
And I'm still going hunting, but I will stay away from those spots until my good buddies are done with what they want to do. And the landowners are like, hey, Brad, hey, we're going to stop killing hogs at this date. And then one landowner said, all right, let's extend it one more week. He goes, we just got this other group I want you to kill. Because every time they get a group on camera, they send me the location of where it's at on this property. And then I'll show up a few days later and I'll look for that group of hogs and we'll kill them, as many as we can. And with dogs, it's not like trapping or, all of these things are effective, right? Helicopters are effective. Trapping's effective. Hunting with thermals are effective. But, hunting with thermals, you sit on the stand and you wait all night. With a trap, you sit there and wait on them. With us, I go there and we start killing now. I mean, we show up. I've never been to your property before. I turn my dogs loose, and within 1 hour, we are killing immediately. So I stay out of there, and the woods just kind of lay fallow. So the first day of like when turkey season's over, I'll be heading down to some of these larger camps the afternoon of when turkey season's in. And which will be in here in a few weeks. And then everybody will come in from hunting. All right, Brad, have at it. Because there's nothing else going on until deer season. And so I'll go all summer.
So when the dogs are and walk me through this, when you go to a certain location and you got 2-3 acres, whatever you want to cover during that hunt, how do they know where to go? Are they like hunting the hogs, or they see hogs, or they hear hogs? I mean, how are they finding them? Is they using their animal instinct and they're just, okay, we smell them this way? Because I know, and you just go. Yep.
They find them with their nose. And so we will go to the area. Hogs stink really bad. It's a lot easier for a dog to smell a hog than it is a squirrel or a deer, because they stink so bad. And so I can be driving my buggy right there, and there will be 10 dogs inside that box. There'll be 4 or 5 on top of it. And as we're going along, all of a sudden I might hear my dogos just and start getting, wound up like you said yours do. And I can stop and we're on them. Sometimes I can turn them loose and they'll just go hunting until they strike a track, and they'll track that hog up into where it's at and they'll catch it.
Now, do your dogos only hunt hogs, or is there, and just excuse my ignorance here, do they hunt turkeys or any other animals?
No, just big game with them. Now in Argentina, they hunt pumas and buffalo, and they kill all those with knives too. And that's really exciting. As you can imagine, that's just adrenaline. But mainly here, we just use them for big game hunting and hogs. And if we're going to kill a turkey, we just call them in and shoot them with shotguns. But, I'm so serious into hog hunting, I don't have a whole lot of time. I mean, I will go turkey hunting, but I'm usually so busy with other things. I might service my buggy or my trailer, change the oil during turkey season. Some dogs need some rest. They need about 2 weeks of healing, something like that. So that's what I'm doing during turkey season.
What are your dogs' daily diet? What are their diets?
So, they eat kibble, and they're on different types of proteins and supplements. Glycogen, helping to recharge their muscles, is big to me, because when my dogs are done hunting, it's a buffet. Every time we go, it's all you can get. It's all day long. And it's a lot like when we were kids. Remember, we play outside and we come in at night and we're so tired, you just went to sleep and you're jerking, when you go to sleep.
Yep.
So when we hunt and they're catching these hogs and they're battling, and this hog is fighting back, and there's pulling and tug of war, and they catch this hog, and maybe it takes me 5 minutes to get there. Well, it don't take a genius to figure out there's a reason why UFC fights ain't that long. That's
right.
Very, and so if you do that 10, 12, 15, or 20 times a day for that dog, he is wiped out. And so we have glycogen tablets, and we've got all kinds of supplements, and we'll start putting it in there within 30 minutes of their last activity. And it's going to be the same thing as weight training for athletes. And so some of the shock therapy that athletes will go through. Like my son's a linebacker, and they're going to pulsating shock, and they're going to bring. You see the suction cups. A lot of my buddies are going to tenderize those muscles, and they're going to help those. They're going to help those dogs recover quicker. You may say, "Man, that's crazy to do all that." Well, when you're working that hard, they deserve it, and so they're going to be eating raw pork, lots of hog fat for immediate pickups, and for immediate calories. I'm going to be feeding them some hog fat as we go along. We kill that hog. I'm going to take my knife and go right down the side, cut off a piece of fat and a chunk about as big as my fist, and they're going to take that and they're going to go on. So in the mornings, they're going to drink powders instead of feed. You cannot feed a dog before you work him very hard.
I already know about that, man. I lost the dog.
Everybody, you feed your Doberman, and then 10 minutes later, you walk in there and you start doing protection work. You're going to get nervous. You're going to puke everywhere, and it's just going to make him sick. So we have supplements that are in powder form. And so you mix them up with water, and I'll take it and I'll mix them up in little cakes. And so they'll eat a small little dose, but it gives them all the nutrients of their feed that morning before they hunt. So they feel good, they'll hunt good, and all the blood won't go to their stomach for digestion. So they'll never get sick, and then they'll eat again that night.
And they got the calories to burn too.
They need the calories, because lots of my dogs are going to be going 20 to 25 to 30 miles on their GPS collars per day. Wow. And the dogos will not have that many miles on them, but what they're doing is a lot more intense holding and swimming. So I went hunting the day you called me. I had just got back. We killed many hogs that day, and the dogos had to swim every time because it's getting hot and they're going in the water. Well, when you're swimming and catching a hog, that's double time. And the last one, the hog took off swimming, and one of my puppies, 10 months old, swam 20 minutes down the bayou behind him and caught it. It had a head start, and he swam it down. And I'm driving along the bayou in my buggy thinking, oh my gosh. So I got out my gun. I was like, I'm going to shoot this, hog in the head and end it. But I let him keep on going. He finally got there. He caught the hog. They struggled. One go under, the hog go under, back and forth. So now you're cutting their oxygen down, right? So now they're working hard with less oxygen, and it's just making them, building his endurance. They finally come to the bank. I dispatch it, and my man JoJo walks out, and I said, "Yeah, baby," because he's just a pup. And so when they're doing that, they eat pretty good.
Yeah. Let's take some questions. One right here. That's not one question. Let's go. Finally talking Dogo. Okay, but somebody named Transformer K9. What are dogos like on the property? Are they territorial and human aggressive towards strangers?
Well, so dogos, let's go back to that pack mentality. If I'm not around, they're going to guard their property, just like any of your guys' dogs will. A Doberman or a Rottweiler, or any of the Shepherd breeds or the Malinois. If daddy's not home, they're going to bark and they're going to guard their property. Well, the dogos, they're going to feed a lot off of me. So me at my kennel, because I sell puppies, we have tons and tons of people come to my house. And the crazy thing is they're all of a different race, of a different nationality. They all have different accents. They all have different skin colors, and they show up, and I'm like, "Hey man, what's going on? Yeah, good to see you. Finally glad to meet you." My dogs never say a thing. I said, "Let me show you the dogs out here." And I don't care where you're from, you're walking through there with me, nobody's saying anything.
Because if it's okay with you, it's okay with them.
So prime example, a couple months ago, these two guys broke down, and their car broke down at the end of my driveway, and they were looking kind of sketchy. So I didn't know who these guys were. Well, I had two dogos outside, and so my dogos are standing there at the pasture, and this guy's in the ditch. And so I come out of the house at nighttime. My dogs look back at me, kind of bark like that. And so I never did address the dogs. Now, I did this on purpose. They're waiting for me to come outside and say, baby, tranquilo, no hay problema, tranquilo, because I speak Spanish to them. But I never said anything like that, and I wouldn't look at them. And I said, I'm going to show this dude right here. This is the wrong place to break down. If you know what I mean? If you need something, come up on my door and ask me, but don't be walking around my place at nighttime,
Yeah.
So this guy gets out. He is scared to death. And so by the time I made it to the driveway, I walked right past a male and a female dogo. I never did address them. And brother, when I did that, they were, so I stood there like this, and I was like, "Who are you?" And when I started speaking very direct, they got down and dirty. And I'm talking about barking, biting the fence, pulling on the fence like this. And that guy said, "Man, I just ran out of gas, and I am so sorry." He goes, "If you sell me some gas, I will never run out of gas right here again." So I started laughing. I said, "Brother, no problem." I said, "I'll give you some gas." He goes, "I'll pay you." I said, "Man, you pay me for no gas." So I still didn't address the dogs because I was using this as a test. I walked past the dogs. I went back to my house. They never moved. They stood there staring at him. And I brought the gas back and I handed it to him. He put gas in his car. He was scared out of his mind. They would have, that guy comes up and hits me. They're going to jump the fence and eat his butt up.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your question, brother, that's a good question. It all depends upon me and how that I'm acting.
Yeah. So Doug asks, how many dogs does it take out on a hunt? How many dogs you take out on a hunt?
So I can go out and kill a hog with one dog. That's not a problem. Sometimes we take a couple of dogs if we're working on something in specific. But as I've said in one of my Facebook videos, I am rewarded based upon how many that I can kill. And so we're looking for a head count every time I go. And I take about 15 to 20 dogs when I hunt. And I'm telling you, that is a lot of dadgum work for one man. I hunt by myself. I usually take an old man with me or two because I hunt during the week because that's part of what I do, so I don't hunt on Saturdays. I'm usually getting ready because I got church the next day and I'm usually getting ready for things like that on a Saturday. But I hunt all during the week. And so these old men will ride with me and they'll man the radio and make sure that I don't get eaten by an alligator. And so by the time I see to about 15 dogs and all the damage they can do in a day's time, I am absolutely worn out. But those 15 dogs, they can get it on. I mean, they can get it on.
Let me get another transformer. Had another question. What traits do you look for in a puppy to select for hunting? I think we tapped on that a little bit early in the segment, but you can expound on it just a little bit in case he didn't get the answer the first time.
Okay, I tell you what's really cool about this. Whenever I started becoming good friends with Ulysses and these guys at La Cocha, they live thousands of miles away, and they do puppy characteristic testing the very same way that I do it. And they were trained by his grandpa, and I was trained by my grandpa on the other side of the world. They're halfway around the world south, and by puppy characteristic testing, when those puppies are 3 weeks old, I am watching them like a hawk. And I am doing that for two reasons. Their eyes are coming open and they're walking around, and I am looking for the tiniest of things because I want my customers to get the dogs that they need for their situation. And also I am usually going to keep the hottest ones for me if there needs to be a special circumstance because the hottest dogs need to be handled by guys like me and you and all these guys on here. So one thing I'm looking for, and I'll start with the easy stuff. I ain't gonna give all my secrets away. We get more in depth. But the first thing that I'm looking for is the way they carry their tail. And when a puppy is a puppy, one of the first things he'll do is I'm looking at the way he carries his tail around, because that tells me how bad he thinks he is. And the best example I can give you, you take a bunch of puppies, and I've told Joe this, and you set them in a dark room at 4 weeks old, most of them are going to whimper and cry and all huddle up because they're babies. That's what they're supposed to do. That's what they are supposed to do. But I tell you what, those big time, outstanding alpha male world champion types at 4 weeks old, they're going to throw that tail over their back and they're going to pick their ears up and they're going to go search every room in that house. And they don't care. They said, whatever's in there, I'm coming in that mode.
Yeah.
And I don't care what's in there. So Tai, the best dog I probably ever raised. That's the dog that, that I caught the bear. He caught a bear and I killed it with a knife. We might tell that story another day. But I had 3 litters one time. And at 3 weeks old, it was like -4. It's like -4 degrees outside. It was like 23, without the wind chill, whatever it was, -4 with the wind chill. So I brought 3 litters inside my basement. This is before I had all my big kennel built that you can go online and look at now. And 3 litters lay there asleep with their mothers. Tai was 3 weeks old. He was barely able to walk. He paced that kennel for hours as a baby. Them other little puppies sucking their mama. These are babies, brother. I mean, these are 3.5-week-old puppies. And Tai walked around that kennel all night long, his tail over his back and his ears up, checking that new surrounding out. What's that new smell? What's that new noise? And I was like, there is something different about this dog. He's one of a kind. And so those are the ones, and I got many more things that I'll do, but that's the very first things that I started looking for.
Have most of the people who are buying dogos now, I'm not going to say all, I would say most of them, are buying the dogs for the aesthetics looks, but they're not buying it for what the purpose the dog was genetically created for. Are you specifically only selling pups to people who use these dogs in a utility fashion with a purpose, or are you selling them as simply pets only?
So what I do is I'll sell them. I very rarely sell them to hunters. Hunters in the South, they will go and often get a pit bull or a Cane cross or make their own, and it works out a lot cheaper that way.
make their own, huh?
And I'll admit it's hard to buy a puppy for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 and then put him in the woods and he's got a chance of getting killed. I get that. That's what I do. Yeah. But mainly the people that buy from me, they're just looking for pets and they're not breeders. And I tell them, I said, well, if you want to breed, if I can't stop, I can't stop the folks. I just say, let me provide you with the best blood I can if you're going to breed. Most of my people are, I sell to people in Beverly Hills, New York, Miami, and they say, Brad, I want a protection dog that'll just lay on my couch and look bad to the bone. And so most of mine go to that. It's very few that actually hunt. Lots of athletes, lots of like boxers, kickboxers. Like one of my buddies, Emiliano Sordi, he fought in the XFC last night as the light heavyweight. He whipped the dog out of that guy. He's from Argentina, by the way. He's got So ex-Marines, Navy SEALs, guys like this. That's who likes to have these dogs, and they keep them as pets. And so they work good as PTSD as well, because they can get some dogs that I've hunted. They've been in battle, and they can look these dogs in the eyes, and these dogs have stared death in the face. Not just with the hog. It's you get in the middle of nowhere, and it's hot, it's cold, and you got to get back home, because if you lay down there, you're going to get heat exhaustion. You're going to become dehydrated. You're going to get frostbite. So then you got to get back out. Yeah. And so there's been many times when I've been totally give out on a hunt and be miles and miles away from my house and be about a half mile away from my buggy, that 6-wheeler, and we kill the last hog. I mean, we just, and everybody's sitting there, and it's just me and the dogs, and I'm talking to the dogs, and they lay down and they're like, I'm going to stay here. And I said, baby, I know. And I'm talking to them like they understand me. You know what I mean? Yeah. I said, baby, I know you want to sleep, but if you lay here, you may get eaten by a crocodile, alligator, or you may get rattlesnake bit. We got to go home. We got to get up, and it takes all their strength to get back out and walk out of the woods. And so they like to have these type of dogs.
Wow, we're almost coming at the end, but I want to ask, like, what are the because all purebreds were really created from several breeds. What are the breeds that the Dogo was genetically created from? What breeds? So
they came from, and I know we're about to run out of time. I'll just say this: they came from 10 different breeds. I'll just talk to you about a couple. they started with a fighting dog of Cordoba, and the fighting dog of Cordoba is extinct now. That's probably a good thing. They were so dang bad they killed each other out because everybody fought them.
Right.
But they were a very aggressive breed of dog. So then Dr. Martinez took that aggressiveness for hunting, and then he took some Great Pyrenees and he put that in there for the white coat. And whenever you go to South America, you'll see it's so vast and green that white stands out really well. So it's easy, when it gets dark in the afternoon, it'd be hard to see, a Rottie or a Doberman with their dark color, but that white, it really stands out. So then he took some Great Dane in there and he got some leg on them for the Great Dane. There's some Boxer in there. Then there's some Bull Terrier in there to get that bite, in there just right. So he started mixing those things in there. And so you wound up with about a 100-pound dog, 26 and a half, 27 inches tall, that's got pretty good height, but he's still got a little bit of quickness from the Terriers sides, which it is a Mastiff breed, but there were some of the other in there. But he's got plenty of strength. And most of all, I believe any dog breed can be smart. Just depends on the breeders who are breeding them or what they're doing. I don't believe that's any different from people. I believe no matter what country you're from, you can be smart. But
right. Last question. I've seen some that had spots or markings, or what the black spot around the eye. What's the most desired aesthetic-wise Dogo? Is the one that's completely white with no markings, or is it, because it's a genetic thing actually? So which ones are more popular or more sought after?
So what is allowed is what is desired is solid white, but what is allowable is a spot on the head, especially around the eye, that's less than 10% of its head, or a spot on the ear that's less than 10% of its head. So if they were in a show, a dog, all things being the same, a dog that is solid white will win. But if the dog that has a black eye is made better and he's faster than he's stronger, then he will win. So it has to be the same caliber of dog, and all things being the same, then the whitest one wins. Now you'll see a lot of black on their skin that's not on their hair. So what we figured out is over time, the more spotting they have on their skin, and you'll see this in a lot of videos, like if a Dogo jumps in water and then you can see the black on his skin, that works out a lot better for allergies. It works out a lot better for hearing loss, to have some black pigmentation in their skin.
Are most Dogos like when Dalmatians are born, they're all white? The spots develop. Are Dogos the same way? They're all born white, their spots develop if they are going to have spots?
If they're going to have a pirate on them, or if they're going to have black on their ear, they will have it on them when they're born, but they'll be born with pink noses.
Okay.
So I had a litter of puppies yesterday. She had 13 puppies.
She don't have 13 nipples.
I'm talking about, I've been breeding. My dad bred dogs. My grandpa, my family has bred and raised dogs until I can't even remember. I can't even go back of a time when my family didn't do it. And I remember as a kid one time we had 13, maybe 14, and everything else. It's been 40 years since I've seen that, but she had 13, and they're all solid white, and one of them has got a black ear, and that's all that there is. And so most of that black will be trimmed off when his ears is cut.
Wow. Well, man, I really appreciate, Brad. I want to say I really appreciate you giving me the time to actually talk to you. I know you would love Wednesday today. You're probably going to eat some more good food today. And then tomorrow's going to start all over again. But man, I really appreciate you taking the time out to come on this podcast and talk about, like I said, one of my favorite breeds. And we definitely got to come down there and do an episode once things slow down for you.
Yes.
So
absolutely. Y'all come down. We'll hunt. I'll show you around. And then once you see how everything's done, you're going to have all kinds of more questions. And you're going to have things like, man, what the world was that? Or it's like, why do you have two dogs over here doing that? What is the purpose of what you're doing? Because you're going to see all kinds of things going on with dogs at my farm that you're wondering what the purpose is to that. And I'll explain how I do everything. And then today we covered a lot of the basics. And if you guys want to know how I start doing things with dogs and training them, be happy to do that. Guys, thank y'all for having me. It's been awesome.
Hey, man. And listen, I always tell people, be resilient, but be responsible. Until next time.